Hey, Planeswalkers, Mythras here. Hope you're doing well and staying safe. Welcome, my friends, to today's episode. We are doing something unique, something different that we have not done on the channel before. So certainly looking forward to your feedback. But we are doing a Dungeons and Dragons Forgotten Realms release. Today is the day, my friends. I want to equip you with some information as the lovely MTGA loader is getting loaded up with this whole new set here. So that is the plan. That is the goal that we're going to talk through. Appreciate you tuning in. Flip me a like. Down below in the description, you will find the timestamps where we will talk about the key mechanics. So a lot of you are familiar with those, but I would like to go over them nonetheless. If this is your first time, or if you only watch this video and get your information, just like to do that. Second, we're going to cover draft and sealed synergies. These things are going to be very important for you as you build out your collection. If you're not purchasing the cards, in terms of hoping educate you around some of the different archetypes that you can use to hopefully your advantage. Obviously, draft, there's still a specific randomness that happens, but having a good prep and mental mindset in terms of awareness of what you're pulling and what you should pull, those kinds of things will certainly help up your game. And then last but not least, we'll talk a little bit about standard potential impacts. If you caught my historic tier list yesterday, we'll do something similar here for Arena today as well, Planeswalkers. So again, appreciate your support as always. If you have questions, if you have comments, please let me know down below. Would love to hear feedback from you. Additionally, feel free to hop in the Discord server that is available to you in the description if you'd like. We have a nice little spoilers channel in there as well. And then last, just a quick reminder, a great way to support the channel down below. I do have a TCG player affiliate. You can use that link when you're purchasing any cards or pre-ordering any of this awesome stuff. Thank you much in advance. And there's other great ways to support the channel down below there too, my friends. So here's what we got going on. We got a lot with Dungeons and Dragons here. Super excited. Love the art. Love what we have happening. One other quick call out before we move on. I just absolutely love the showcase frames, the classic module lands. Looking forward to collecting as many of these as I can because I do have a massive card collection myself. So let's go ahead and move on into this portion of the video today where we will talk about the different mechanics here are certainly very, very important. So a couple of the big things here is the dungeon piece. This is one of the first pieces to be released. Essentially, you're gonna have 3 dungeons that you can venture into. When you venture, if you don't have a dungeon open, you'll play this. You'll go grab one of these cards, you'll play it. You have 3 different ones that you can work your way through. Like I mentioned, most of the time you're probably going to end up playing Lost Mine, to be honest. You're going to get the most value out of this one. Tomb of Annihilation is going to be very specific to the type of game that you're probably playing if you're going to pull that one. Dungeon of the Mad Mage, you get the value as you essentially have a lot of these triggers. And I do think we'll talk about this a little bit later. We have this idea that it might be pretty smooth to make this happen, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case for us here today. So that is how this works. It doesn't take up a slot in your sideboard. It is just something there, kind of like a companion. You can pull it over, that kind of a deal. So they stay outside the game and end up in your command zone for a while. So there you go. That's perfect. Next, one of the things that I am also like with the other art, just want to call it these other awesome alternative arts there, because that's pretty cool. And then this shows us again as an opportunity how you can venture. Shortcut Seeker is going to give you a venture into the dungeon when it deals combat damage, versus Nadar here, when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you get a venture into the dungeon. So this one's very, very powerful in terms of dungeon enablers there for you and what you might play. Now, completing dungeons will also give you additional value. Things like Gloomstalker, as you have one completed, this guy's going to have double strike. We get access to dragons. Can I say that again? Dragons. Yes. Last time I remember seeing dragons was Dragons of Tarkir or Tarkar. Very excited about this. There's some pretty awesome things in here, and I love it. Ampersands, nope, stop. So we'll stop there. Next, flavor words. This is a big one. The reality is this is kind of a modal text deal, and this is going to become more and more important, I believe, even for best of one as an alternative approach here. Well, I shouldn't say alternative approach, but decision-making approach to the game. Flavor text in this case gives you 2 different choices. Obviously, you can have more than that. We've seen some with 3, I believe. But essentially, we get a creature here that smash the chest or pry it open. Love that. So you can either destroy a target artifact or create a treasure token, and then you see a guard approach. This one, you can distract the guard, tap the target creature, or you can hide. Target creature you control becomes hexproof until end of turn. So very, very cool interactions that we can have. We have a roll a d20. Love it. Absolutely love this. Looking forward to busting out my d20s myself. And what we get with this is another alternative to essentially getting some slight power creep on what we have here. But essentially, when we look at the 1 through 9, 10 through 19, and the 20, you got essentially a 45%, 50%, and then a 5% chance to make these things happen. Adds another flavor to the game, alternative to the game, and will definitely make things interesting. You'll roll that dice. In this case, whenever the rogue attacks, and adds a alternate choice value to the game, and something that you're not necessarily going to be able to account for until the decision's made, and then you'll have to play. So that 20 certainly makes it very punishing on this card. Next, we have classes. So this is pretty awesome. This is a level up ability here, and it's pretty awesome in terms of these enchantments. So they're essentially stick on the board. You can level them up. We've seen that with some of the creatures in the past. We actually saw that with the Ascendant Spirit in Kaldheim as well, the Snow Spirit. So this is a cool thing that you can play. Over time, you're going to get that value. It's going to stay on the board. So that's pretty neat. If we do see a lot of play in this, particularly in Standard, and I would also willing to venture in Limited, you're going to want to have some form of enchantment removal. It's going to be pretty important. So when we look at this guy up here, nope, just destroy artifacts. So going to be important. There's not a ton of that in here, and we'll talk about that again later. So I did that on purpose. And that is what we have. In terms of the mechanics, you can certainly come to Wizards of the Coast here and check all these things out. But just wanted to give you a quick run through in terms of these mechanics for you here today. So with that, we are going to move into the next portion here where we will talk a little bit about some of the draft strategies and some of the limited strategies for you to keep in mind. That's going to be pretty important as we work through things. So again, you can go to the webpage here. Obviously, you'll have all the cards and access to things here in a second. The best way for me to kind of walk through some of the strategies is actually going to be going down all the way to the end here where we have the multicolored spells and cards, which is going to be pretty important. Now, a couple of things that you're going to notice here, and we'll talk a little bit about this here in terms of strategies, is going to be very important to sticking to what I call the roots of drafting, in particularly with this set. Now, what we'll find is, even though we don't have a core set, this is kind of like a core set. And I say that because we don't have, when we get to the lands here, we don't have a lot of color fixing except for Temple of the Dragon Queen, which is going to be very important. So sticking to 2 colors is going to be huge for you here. And I just want to reiterate that, stick to 2 colors. It's going to be very hard to pull off the 3. You do have Evolving Wilds to go find things. But again, you're putting a lot of risk to be able to get the right color fixing for your deck. When you go to 3, most of the stuff that we're going to talk about here is really 2 color based. You got this guy here, but we're not even going to talk about Naya. So what we want to focus on is some key sealed and draft synergies that I had talked about in strategies. So a big one here is going to be red white artifacts or equipment decks. Essentially, this guy gives us a nice flavor of why. So each creature we control gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it. We may pay 0 rather than pay for the equipment cost. So Bruno Battlehammer is one reason, but certainly if you were to go back and look at all the white and the red, it fits a really, really nice shell. Next, we have green-white Lifegain. So this is supported in a couple of different areas here. We have Tria Lasara, Moon Dancer. Whenever we gain life, put a +1/+1 counter. We get additional support here with Drizzt. Obviously, it's a rare, so you don't want to get too caught up on that. But that's one piece. There's a lot of enablers in white and green in terms of life gain as well. White, we have clerics. We got life gain with monks and those kinds of things as well that you'll have access to there. Next, we have white-blue dungeons. So this one's really big here. Hama. Room abilities of dungeons we own trigger an additional time. So this is going to be really important for you if you want to go down this path in terms of getting through dungeons fast and enabling. White and blue have the best enablers for essentially what I'll call the dungeon crawl. And that is going to be very important for you as you work through things. You're not going to, in my opinion, want to be too off focus when it comes to dungeon. You really want to make sure that if you're making that a part of your core mechanic and core archetype here, you want to make sure you're moving in that direction with those cards. So that's a big one. We also have white black, so we get a nice enabler here with Triumphant Adventure. Again, a rare, something to consider though, and part of the reason why is there's good synergies in the zombie format. We also have Barrowin here, which does a lot of stuff. Again, enters the battlefield, venture into the dungeon, so we get a couple of different abilities to work that route as well. Then I like to call it red, green, black, or blue big stuff. That's right. So when we look at these colors, red, green, we also have let's see here, black green and blue, and green and black. They're going to give you a lot of nice big creatures. So let's go through and look at this. Again, all the stuff in green here is huge. Lots of big things. Both, interestingly enough, green and blue and red didn't quite have it as much. It's still there. We have some, but not as prominent as it has been in the past in terms of the big stuff. Certainly a key piece, like I said, but we do get a lot here, oddly enough, in black in some of these bigger creatures, which is pretty important to think about here in terms of your playstyle. Grim Wanderer is just awesome. And then again, when we get to blue, and we got these guys here too, just incredible. And then when we get to blue, we kind of see some of the similar stuff. We have some bigger creatures here like this guy, the Frost Giant. We also have horrors, dragons, and the dragons are bigger. We got Dragon Turtle, we got Demolic, those kinds of things. So that's pretty important to kind of think about. The other one that I do like to talk about is, again, going back to red-white artifacts, is more the red white go wide strategy. You can get a bunch of little tokens going. You can get some dungeon enablement going. Again, similar style here, and really start working your way through what you may need to play to kind of go with a broader approach with the deck. And again, those dungeons here, let's go back when we look at this. These dungeons here all have different things where you can create more creatures like Goblin Lair. Also Storeroom, we can make them bigger. If you happen to go down the Mad Mage's side, you get a bunch of 1/1 black skeleton tokens. So that's huge on the green black kind of mechanic there that we did talk about and mention. Then we also have kind of the blue red, or is it spells? So here, this is an interesting one again that you can play and focus on. Let me get down here. Hopefully you're not getting sick. There we go. So we got sorcerer class. We also have in this space the good old Faraday Devil's Chosen. So again, whenever you roll one or more dice, gains flying, menace till end of turn. If any of those results are 10 or higher, draw a card. A lot of the spells, we have that ability to shake the dice and see how that goes. 1 second. Next, we have, I jumped the gun there, the black-green undead or blue-black or dimmer undead as well. So there's some opportunities here. We covered that a little bit when we saw some of the Madmen's dungeon going on. But here again, we have these opportunities. We got rogue class in here. We have a couple of different things. Again, Xanathar from the top end. But when we really look into the black, we really begin to see a lot of opportunity around kind of the zombie components with support from blue or some of the support from green that we talked about on the bigger side of things. And again, here we go. Moving around too fast for you. Sorry, it's not as easy to toggle on this till tomorrow. And then you also got these kind of supporters in that space too. Skeletal Swarming, Seshra as well. Then last but not least, another big one that we want to talk about is Red-Black Treasure. There is a lot of that in this set here. A good example is a Reclusive Painter. You have an opportunity here again with Orcus at a high level or late game high level, I mean by rare, power level there maybe. Really a lot of opportunity to leverage tokens. And actually it's interesting to see that because you get a lot of ramp. But I think it makes a lot of sense when you look at what we have going on in terms of at least black. Like we had talked about with some of these larger creatures, you're going to have an ability to ramp into them very, very fast, which is going to be pretty important. And there's other triggers that you can get off those tokens that will be very important for you too as well. So that, my friends, is the overview that I wanted to give for you in terms of draft and sealed synergy. So those are things that you can think about in terms of your deck construction, in terms of your draft strategy as you hit the ground running here later today, hopefully. I did make this the day before, so that's a big one for you to think about and keep in mind. So the next thing that I do want to do here before we move on is just give a quick overview of what we'll do next. So again, yesterday I did this in terms of potential with historic decks in the historic tier list. So today we're going to talk through it from a standard perspective and some of those things. So you can absolutely feel free to check out my standard tier list. We did about 50 decks here for the July-June season, essentially almost July. And that is going to be very prominent for you. The list is available to you in the description. However, I've got a nice procured list here on my website for you too that you can take a look at for both best of 1 and best of 3 and some nice article content for you as you kind of read want some additional information or observations, as this is kind of a trend piece that I do once a month outside of the weekly meta-analysis that I do, that I'm also extremely excited to be looking forward to for this week. So these are essentially going to be a lot of the key decks that we'll keep in mind. A lot of the stuff most of you are probably familiar with, having played quite a bit. So we'll try and run through some of these things and see where we can get. So with white here, the biggest ones that we're going to find is these artifacts. Essentially, these things are going to be give you some idea in terms of equipment type decks. There was some that ran in a Boros style, wasn't totally mainstream meta, but maybe there's some good pickups and opportunities that we have here. You might find things like Blink Dog as a good opportunity here for something like a Nio Inata. This one's going to be pretty sweet. The Book of Exalted Deeds. I could see this going into kind of one. There was a standard Angel deck that I did run, Lifegain deck. This could go really well in a Cleric's deck as well. Give you an opportunity to not lose the match. Is pretty much is essentially as long as that Angel or whatever still on your board, you're going to be in a nice spot there. Then some of these other things here, we do get nice pump with Celestial Unicorn in terms of a life gain deck. Again, maybe probably not going to see any play, but something to consider. Cleric class here, though, could be helpful. It's essentially like a cheap man's Heliod. So here you're just paying one more whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 on counter target creature you control. So that's pretty big. When this becomes 5, return target creature card from a graveyard to the battlefield, you gain life equal to that. So this is big, just again in terms of I think this will potentially see play. The main board wipes is a problem for mono white life gain. This gives you an ability to bring it back without playing the idol, which is pretty big there as well. We get some interesting opportunities here with Dancing Sword. This becomes a 2/1 flying creature, which is pretty neat. Gives us something different. We do have, so again, there I was correct. There is one that's got 3 things here. Destroy target enchantment, exile target card from a graveyard, you gain 2 life. This is going to be pretty good and limited, so keep an eye on that. The ability to get rid of those enchantments is pretty big. And a lot of these other things that might happen. Is Venture going to be a thing in Standard? It could be. We'll see. I think the 3 guy that we'll get to here in a second gives you a lot of ability. Certainly, it could be very limited, though, to draft and sealed. I don't see right now, until I probably get some more at-bats and get some understanding of the set a little bit more in terms of how it's going to fit in. Seeing it, a trigger here and there is nice, but we want to make sure we're gaining that value over time, and that's going to fit well into the fullness of the deck too. So that will be left to see, but one of those pieces with the Venture piece is it's not like turn 3 you're getting that filled out. So that's something to keep in mind, and that's going to be a big piece there for you too. Again, more artifacts. We got some knights, so there was some of those going on. We got monks, which is big. This is good in terms of a equipment deck. As long as it's attached, it becomes a pretty big solid guy. Flump is pretty interesting. The Grandmaster of Flowers could be something here in terms of some additional power in terms of a control deck. So keep that in mind. This could be something from an Azorius control boost that we're going to get as well. Guardian of Faith is nice in terms of protection. You flash this guy in, everything phases out. So this gives you a ton of protection against the nasty exile decks. So we haven't had this before, at least at this one. So keep that in mind. This could be a good one in mono white aggro. It could be a good one in life gain. A whole host of things, Knights decks. So keep those there. I think the dragons will see play. I don't know into fully what shell yet. The other thing I was trying to mention here about the venturing stuff is it could be something in Standard 2022 though. So keep an eye on that. I'm certainly going to be doing some more in that space for you here on the channel, so stay tuned on that. We have Loyal Warhound. This could be something like a Naya Boros Winata Houndmaster deck, those kinds of things. I think that's still going to be around. Again, Open Hand here is pretty cool. Again, whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this guy. This could be good in a Magecraft deck. Something to consider and think about. It could be good in a Naya deck with the Spirit guy as well, making the 1/1 flyers. So there's a couple of different pieces here that might work. Here we have Moonblessed Cleric. When this enters the battlefield, you may search your library for enchantment card, reveal it, shuffle it. This could be really good in an enchantment-based deck. So that could be something like an Orzhov tax deck, those kinds of things. With Doom decks. Nadar, Selfless Paladin here. Again, this is going to be your big enabler in terms of the venture stuff. If anyone's going to make it work, it's going to be this guy. Paladin class is big. This is a huge tax on late game decks. You throw this in with Archon, you throw this in with our lovely Valkyrie friend, and you're going to shut down and add a lot to late game decks. So there's going to be a chance, I think, to have a mono white, more pure tax deck in standard. Something to think about as well. Again, more equipment stuff. We do have Portable Hull. I like this card a lot. It's going to add a lot of value, I think, again, to some of the lower end stuff or control decks. When it enters battlefield, exile target non-land permanent. So again, this thing hits enchantments, it hits creatures, it hits other artifacts. It's got a lot of value there, I think, from what we can see. Teleportation Circle is pretty big. This thing is like a Thassa, except not quite as good, but it is an enchantment at the beginning of our end step, exile up to one target artifact or creature we control. So that's the one difference, is you can blank your artifacts, which is going to be huge. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, more dragons, our lovely flavors. So that's what we had going on for white. Let's go ahead and take a look at blue. In terms of blue, the biggest ones here that I liked, one, Black Staff of the Waterdeep. There could be potential again for some late game Azora stuff going on here, or affinity type decks in standard. So that's something to keep an eye on. I think there could be something here with Clever Conjurer as well. This guy, untap target permanent not named Clever Conjurer, activate only as a sorcery. The ability to tap something down and keep going is huge. This could help you in a Simic ramp deck. This could help you in a whole host of places, something to keep in mind. Demolic could be very interesting in terms of like mono blue spells deck. We've seen, or even like a mono blue mill deck, giving you a creature, those kinds of things as well. What else? Dragon Turtle. This guy's great. A flash deck. So I was queued up to do Dimmer Flash. This guy could be big in a flash deck for you. It is a big body and could certainly make a difference. What else? Oh, this guy. Grazilax Illithid Scholar. So the horror here, whenever a creature you control becomes blocked, you may return it to its owner's hand. Nice. That sounds pretty good. Lots of blank bounce stuff going on. That whenever one or more of our creatures we control deal combat damage to a player, we draw a card. So this seems pretty good in my book. So that's something to keep in mind on. This could go good in a rogues deck. It could certainly go good in a flyers deck. It could go good in a lot of different places. And it seems pretty powerful to me. We have Guild Thief. Whenever this guy deals combat damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Can't be blocked for 4. Could go in a rogues deck. Boom, big dragon with ward, huge. Again, good potentially for a late game type deck here as well as a finisher. Mind Flare. Boom. When this guy enters the battlefield, gain control of target creature for as long as you control Mind Flare. There was a ninja that I remember, I think in 21 or 20, that came in at 7 and stole a bunch of stuff. So this seems like it could do something. So let's keep that in mind. Mordekainen, maybe a decent finisher. Kind of gets tricky here with what we have going on. You got to be careful because you might end up milling yourself. So you got to be careful on that one. You're going to want to make sure that you shuffle your graveyard in like that turn. So you're probably going to need our nice little artifact that's going to do that for you. Something to think about as a thought. What else do we have? Fairies. Love it. Maybe a blue-white flying deck. Again, pretty common though. But the additional roll is always nice. So that's something to think about. What else do we have in blue? One of the things I did like, and we'll get to it. The big blow-up card against creature token decks. A few things, actually. A couple more that I want to talk about here in blue. Hideous Laughter. This thing's ridiculous. Each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until that player has exiled cards with total mana value of 20 or more for 3. If we go with an average mana cost or creature casting cost of 3. That's like 6 cards here. So that's pretty big at 3 if you want to play a mill deck, something to consider and think about. And that's at least that. So that's not inclusive of creature cards or having lower casting costs, those kinds of things as well. We got Trickster of the Talisman. This might be decent in terms of a flyer deck. As a thought, wizard class, maybe this could be something. Having no maximum hand size could be pretty interesting. Wizard spellbook could be interesting. Here's one that where'd it go? I really like this. You find the villain's lair. So counter target spell, or draw 2, discard 2. So huge in terms of finding answers, and this is going to be big for the pass go stuff. This could go well in Is It Dragons? This could go well in Is It Spells? A whole host of things here. That's going to be pretty powerful. Even late game decks, Dimmer Control. This could be big in Sultai. Could be big in everyone's favorite deck. As well in the ultimatum stuff or team returns. So this one could find a decent home. Next, when we get to black, here's some interesting stuff here. We get some pretty powerful cards coming out of these things, particularly Archfiend. I could see this being a thing with Sultai, again, ultimatum. We got some big plays here with the Book of Violence. Of Darkness. I could see a zombie tribal deck. I could see a rogues deck. I could see, again, knights, some of those things that we talked about. Dwarf's deck. I don't think we've covered red yet. No. And those kinds of things. So those are all important things to be thinking about, as well as some of these more tribal decks, elves. We got decent removal out of hands again. If you're going to go skeletons or some of these things, Death Priest might be an idea for you as well. What else do we have in here? The dragon here, Eben Death Dracolich. Pretty powerful in self-mill decks. This could be something here as well, or reanimator decks, graveyard type decks. That's a big one for you. Paladin, again, human knights. So again, we might see that resurgence of potentially a Rakdos Knights or Knights deck here with some of these other things. This cube, this thing's pretty good. Grim Wander, this could be big in your rogues decks, or another kind of sack deck. This guy's got a lot of power to it. Something to think about there. In terms of our friend Lolth, Spider Queen, this card here is definitely going to be in Sultai Ultimatum, most likely. It's actually going to be really good in. I should say definitely. It's going to be better in some of the pest decks and the Golgari type stuff. So keep an eye out for this one. Certainly we could see that there. You draw a card and lose 1 life. That's great. But again, that's where the big one is going to be, is those pest decks that I talked about, and Witherbloom type stuff. So that's going to be the kind of the top end finisher for that one. What else do we have in black? We get some straps. We get some drain. Sphere of Annihilation is going to be good. I think this one will run well in Dimmer Control or other control type decks. Gives another power to some of the later game stuff. Even Sultai Ultimatum again here, and mono black control as well. Those will be some big ones for you there. We got some drain stuff going on here with the Warlocks, which is good. I like the Vorpal Sword. This gives you an ability to do some fun stuff. I think this would be a good one in a Knight's deck again as well. This guy's pretty interesting. Westgate Regent, a flyer. It's got a ward discard. And then whenever this guy deals damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 counters on it. Gets big fast. The white here might be good. Enters the battlefield tapped. However, it's got life drain and does a whole bunch of other things. So lots of cool stuff there that you might be able to take advantage of. Red, it's about the Orc Warriors. We've got goblins going on here. You got a lot of fast value. Burning Hands is really nice. 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that permanent's green, it deals 6 instead. Who's got 6? Gargaroth. Gargaroth. Let me say it again. Gargaroth. Yes. Gargaroth is dead. So, Burning Hands, something to think about that you can play. Good against planeswalkers too as well, if you need. Other things here in the space, I think this thing's pretty cool. Bunch of token generation that can happen here with the Wild Mage, and it's an Elf Shaman, so that I loved. So that's pretty cool. Then we also get Dragon's Fire. Dragon's Fire is very powerful. I think we'll see that quite a bit, particularly in Dragon's decks. So that could be a decent one that we'll see. Flame Skull could be something like a mono red burn deck. In those cases, let's see, we get a Goblin Warrior with haste. This could be a nice new card for us in our mono red aggro decks, so keep an eye on that one. We get again Hobgoblin Bandit Lord. Other goblins get +1/+1. We get some other goblins here that do a lot of stuff, so we could see that tribal. We get a +1/+1, gets haste, can't be blocked by walls. Maybe again aggro deck, mono red aggro deck. We get an amazing Inferno of the Star Mounts. I really don't want to see this in Izzet Dragons. It's very powerful. I think this is going to be a great card for a sideboard for like something like a mono red, so you don't have to worry about getting countered or those kinds of things. So that's a big one to keep in mind that we may run into. We may see some cheat here with Minion of the Mighty, and particularly in Dragons decks. Then let's see here. What else do we got? A lot of these things can fit into Winata shells as well, so keep that in mind. We get some addition here. Exile the top 3 cards of your opponent's library. Choose one of them until the end of next turn. You may play that card, and you may spend mana as though or mana of any color to spend it. This could see some play. You find some prisoners. Ability to steal some of your opponent's stuff. This is going to be pretty good. We got Zerial here too. Zerial might be good in an aggro deck or token-based creature deck, or even some goblins type things going on there as well. So keep that in mind. Next, we got green. So green, what are we going to pick up here with green? For elves. So elves certainly get some love here. Eliwick's good if you want to go venture into the dungeons. And that, again, that could be a thing. This guy's pretty interesting. Frog Heamoth. It's got trample, it's got haste. Whenever it deals combat damage to player, exile up to that many cards from the graveyard. So it's like a big Scooz. Put a +1/+1 counter for each creature and card exiled this way. You gain 1 life for each non-creature exiled that way. So creature card exile that way. So I think Rumpty and Rint probably got some things here for Stompy. To be honest, I like this guy too. Pack Tactics. I think this will be good in draft. Let's see, what else do we got here? Legendary Artifact to go find stuff. Big creatures, reach, turn X target cards with different mana values from your graveyard to your hand if 8 or more cards are returned, so a good way to bring stuff back. Lurking Roper, love this card, so I'm just going to say that now. Akri Jelly could be good in a Selesnya tokens deck. It splits, you get another creature, another just a big dragon. Owlbear, just love that Owlbear. Prosperous Innkeeper enters the battlefield, create a token. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under control, you gain 1 life. This could be good in a Selesnya Lifegain deck. Big Old Worm. Ranger class. Here's a good one. So Ranger class is going to be decent. Whenever we attack, put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature, and we may look at the top card of our library at any time, may cast that card from the top of our library. So that's big. I like that again in Stompy and in mono green. That could see play in some other places too. We got this guy, huge. Silver Moon Ranger. Whenever you complete a dungeon, we get a 2/2 wolf token. This one's going to be big. Werewolf Pack Leader. I think this will be good for, excuse me, Stompy decks. Again, 3/3 plus. Whenever attacks and we attack the creature total power 6 or greater, draw a card. That's huge for the mono green Stompy decks. And a lot of other, even like Simic and those kinds of things too to think about. And we'll get some options here. Destroy target artifact, destroy target enchantment, create a treasure token, venture into a dungeon. That's good if you need that. Probably a sideboard card. So those are all the key monocolored cards. Let's go back here. We'll look at some of these things. Again, elf card could work. Equipment deck could work. Fighter class equipment deck could work. Naya, sure, why not? And a whole host of other things. So I don't want to kill this because we did talk about these quite a bit. Xanathar Guild Kingpin could be something for our lovely Sultai Ultimatum decks. And then on top of that, don't forget about Tybalt's Trickery, because that's not going away. We got a host of things that could fit in Tybalt's Trickery. This guy, Tiamat, when it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, search your library for up to 5 dragons. It could be just a total dragon show of Tybalt's Trickery. Again, we talked about the dungeons. Deck of many things might be a thing. I talked about some of the artifact type things that are going on here. You could certainly find that here as well. Eye of Vecna could be something in terms of draw. Again, Hand of Vecna in terms of equipment. And a whole host of artifacts. Now, the other thing here that I do like the lands. We have the ability to do some cool stuff, particularly something like this. It's still a land, 7/7 blue giant creature. We got some control decks coming, my friends. Just keep that in mind. So we got lots of pieces to get through on things here. Adds a lot of firepower. If you control 2 or more other lands, it enters the battlefield tapped, so keep that in mind. Otherwise, it won't. So it's a good early turn play. Tap an untapped legendary creature you control, venture into the dungeon, activate only as a sorcery. A whole host of other things. Again, maybe the treasure tokens will be more of a thing again. We know that ramps well with some of the decks that we've played in the past. Again, dragons, those kinds of things as well, my friends. So that is what we have today with our awesome lovely Dungeons and Dragons Adventures in the Forgotten Realms. So Planeswalkers did something new. Let me know what you think. I definitely wanted to get through that here today for you, to give you a different look and taste. Flip me a like if you enjoyed today's video. If you have questions, if you have comments, please let me know down below. Would love to hear from you. Feel free to hop in the Discord server. That information's available to you in the description. On top of other great ways to support the channel, friendly reminder, if you're looking to pre-order, I do get my TCG player affiliate information down there for you too. Great place to go get some cards and a way to support the channel, as well as a host of other ways. Thank you everyone always for your support. I feel very blessed to be a part of this community always. So looking forward to the new set as much as you are. Looking forward to doing Standard 2022 as well. So Planeswalkers, great ways to stay in touch, stay connected, and stay up to date on what we have going on here. We do Standard top decks. We'll do Standard 2022. We'll do Historic. We got Jank coming still. We got our tier lists. We just knocked those out, so looking forward to do the next stuff here when this gets moving. And then additionally, Friday night meta, my friends. So stay tuned because we got a host of information coming at you at warp speed, always daily. Try and bring some fun and live streaming. So Tuesdays and Thursdays I do that as well. You can watch me on YouTube as well as Twitch. So last but not least, again, thank you to all supporters, YouTube members. Great ways for us to interact, as well as patrons. So thank you always for your support, as well as the Twitch subscribers and Planeswalkers. With that said, please enjoy the set. I know we've all been waiting for it, and I can't wait to get moving on it tomorrow or today. This was filmed previously. Tomorrow, right now, today, and looking forward to bringing you a lot of new information here on the channel. So with that, Planeswalkers, you stay safe. Until next time, we'll see you again soon. Mythras out.